Hey guys, today I'm going to be showing you how to make another one of my personal favorite charms. This is a little baby turtle. So let's get sculpting. So the first thing we're going to do is make the head. So I get a piece of clay just about this size, like kind of like a big pea. We're just going to roll it out into a smooth ball, like so. And then you're just going to kind of shape it a little bit into an egg shape, slightly pinched at the top, so you end up with something like that. And next we're going to be making our jump loops. I like to use pink, but you can use any color you want. I think Joann's sells green, which would be good for these. Cut. Then we're going to add a little bit of a bend to the end of this so it won't pop out of the charm. There we go. And then we're just going to insert it into the top. And you can use your pliers to kind of help it down so it doesn't get squished too much. And if it loses its shape a little bit, that's fine. Just kind of form it back. And then I like to use a needle, just kind of smooth out the area on the top where the loop kind of made a little hole. So we've got our head with the jump loop. Next we can make the body. I like to make the body a little bit smaller than the head, so let's see. I think something like that's pretty good. So I'm just going to shape this into an oval. And I like to make the front flat and the back side round, kind of like a real turtle shell. Just kind of pinch it around like this. Kind of flatten it a little bit on one side. It's almost like a dome, like a flat dome. Alright. Now after we have this part, I like to use some wire to kind of attach the head to the body. So I'm just using, this is just silver wire. It's 22 gauge. I think is a pretty good thickness for this. So I'm just gonna cut a little bit off there. And when I'm inserting wire, I like to use a needle to kind of make a hole for it to go into. Figure out where you want your piece to go and just kind of go like that with your needle. This just helps it go in easier. I think I want actually a bigger piece than what I cut. Let's see. And then I like to score the area where parts are going to be attached. So just a little bit right there where the body is going to connect to the head. And you can add some TLS too, just to kind of help it stick. There we go. Now, pretty much going to do the same thing with the body. You can just insert your needle a little bit where it's going to go in. Score this area right here. Little TLS. Let's see. And just insert that like so. There we go. So now we've got the turtle head and body connected. The next part are his little, I guess, flippers is what you'd call them. And I like to make those kind of like little teardrop shapes. So I just take a ball about this big. You can see it in comparison to the rest of it. Maybe just like a little bit bigger. And then just kind of see how I'm pinching it with my finger just to make a little teardrop shape like that. I'm going to do the same thing. Just use the needle to kind of create a hole for the wire to go into. And this part might be a little tricky, but it'll get some sturdiness to your charm, which is good. Oh, and you can also score that area a little bit too. And insert your wire. And hopefully that'll go in easily. If you want your little flippers to be bigger or smaller, that's totally up to you. And then I'm going to use my needle to kind of shape it and smooth it out into the rest of the charm. And you'll just repeat that on the other side. So now that we have our little flippers on, we can do the feet. So it's pretty much going to be exactly the same as how we did the arms. Just going to make little holes, the needle, where we want our feet to go for the wire. Just like that. And let's cut some off. Just insert that like right there. Gonna score. A little bit of TLS. And we'll make our little feet. So those are just gonna be little, almost like half circles. So you'll take a ball of clay and kind of flatten it with, there you go, with their fingers on one side, just like this. It's pretty much like a half circle right there. We'll make our hole for the wire. Score it a little bit there. And then just insert it like so. There we go. And then we can use our needle to kind of meld it back into the body. Shape it. There we go. And then just repeat that on the other side. So now that we have our turtle with his arms and legs on, the last thing we're going to sculpt is the tail. So this is going to be a super, super tiny piece of clay. It's like really small. We're just going to form it into a little triangle. Kind of flatten it on that one side. And let's see. Then we're just going to stick it on the back like that. Make sure it's on the rounded side, not his stomach, because that would be weird. And then just use your needle to smooth that into the body. There we go. So now your turtle is ready to be baked. So just follow the instructions on your package, and when he's nice and dry and cooled off, we can paint. So once your charm is baked, we can start painting. So I'm using just a pretty pale green. You can use, whatever color you want, but that's just the color I prefer to do for the head and the arms and the legs for these. So you're just gonna take a nice kind of wide flat brush like this and just start putting on your base coat like so. So I've done about 5 coats of the green base paint on here. You just want it to be, you know, I like it to be completely opaque. You know, you can't see any of the clay underneath. And the next thing we can do is paint on his stomach. And I like to do this in a pale yellow. But again, it's up to you. You can do any kind of color you want. So I'm just going to take kind of a medium small brush and go in. Just get a nice yellow coat right on his stomach. And it's okay if you get, you know, a little bit on the legs or the arms. You can just go over it with some of your green base paint. So once we have a nice thick coating of yellow on the stomach, we can go ahead and kind of fix up the areas where it got a little bit on the arms and legs. So just going to take that same brush, just kind of repaint that area and close to the edge, covering up any yellow spots that might be there. Just like that. So after you've got your arms all fixed up and they're dry, we're going to put the lines on the shell. And this is kind of a tricky part. You can see I'm using pretty much the tiniest brush I could find at Michael's. And I'm using kind of a brownish yellow color for the lines. And I'm just going to get a little bit. And let's see. Just going to kind of start at one edge. And it's okay if these aren't perfectly thin or perfectly straight, because I'll show you how we can go back with the yellow and kind of thin them out, because it's really, really hard to get these right just by brushing them on the first time. So again, these don't have to be perfect right now. Just kind of get the color on there. So once we have our 3 brown lines painted on, they probably won't be perfect. I know mine definitely aren't. So we can just go back in with our yellow and kind of straighten them out. So I'm using a slightly longer, thinner brush for this. You know, I think it's better for trying to do straight lines. And just gonna kind of fill in the areas in between. And I find it's easier to get straight lines doing this than trying to get them with a small brush the first time. Just go. That might take a little tweaking. Might have to add back a little bit of the brown to get it right. This is definitely the trickiest part of this charm, the lines on the stomach. Just on the top and bottom of each line. And once you get your lines pretty much how you want them, we're going to take kind of a darker green like this and just make a thin ring kind of right between the arms and the front of the shell. I'll show you. And actually, now that I think of it, you should probably wait until after you do this to fix up the arms and the legs with your base paint, because a little bit of this will probably get on there. So I'm just going to carefully, with a really tiny brush, just kind of go around the charm. So once we have the green ring around the front of the charm, we can just go ahead and start doing kind of the sides and the back. So just take a more, medium-sized brush for the sides. It's a little tricky in there. It's a small area. Just get in there. Try not to get too much on the legs, because you'll have to go back and fill it in. And then we can go ahead and do the back. So once you've got your backside done and you've kind of, finessed and fixed up the arms and legs and everything, you can go ahead and put a super, super light, thin coat of glaze on. And I like to do this because it just kind of, protects your paint while you're working. And while you're doing the faces, like I know that I usually have to do the faces, a few times, wipe it off and start over. At least the eyes, and this just makes it a lot easier to do that. Make sure there's no hairs. Just super, super light coat. So once you've got your preliminary coat of glaze on, we can do the eyes. And I've already done one, and I've let it completely dry. Because if you mess up your second one and you have to wipe it off, you want to make sure that you don't accidentally mess up or wipe off the one that you've already done. That's good. So I'm using this super fun new tool that I got. I think it's like a nail polish daughter. I was using an empty mechanical pencil before, so this is definitely an upgrade. And it's cool. It's got kind of a smaller tip and then a bigger tip, so that's pretty awesome. So just gonna go ahead and dip that very lightly into my paint. Let's see if I can get this on the first try. Not quite liking that, so I'm just gonna go ahead and try this again. You can see very clean wipe off because of your preliminary glaze. Let's see. There we go. I'm happy with that. So you can let that dry, and then we'll start in on the mouth. So once you have your eyes on, we can go ahead and do the mouth. I'm going to be using a super, super small brush for this. Just using a brown paint for the eyes and the mouth here. And like the lines, this isn't going to be perfect the first time you do it. So just try to get, a shape you can work with on there. So as you can see, that doesn't look too great, but I'm not too worried about it because we're gonna kind of go in and fix it. So once you have your mouth on kind of how you want it, we can go back in with our small brush and some of our pale green base coat. You're just gonna kind of go in around the edges and just kind of shape it the way you want. It's a little tricky. Might take a little bit of time. I think it's just one of those things you gotta practice. I'll try on the bottom a little bit too. It's a little too thick right here. So once you get your mouth how you like it, after a bunch of finessing, you can go ahead and add on the cheeks. Just using kind of a light pastel pink. I'm going to take my daughter, dip it in just like I did the eyes, and just do little dots kind of on the side of each eye there. There's one. And two. And once those are dry, we can get started on glazing. So now that the cheeks are dry, we can go ahead and dip our turtle in the glaze. And with the brush, we just go ahead and get any excess off, because you don't want any drips forming and hardening on your charm. I've had that happen before and it's not good. I usually like to do about 5 coats of glaze, so just, you know, let it completely dry and then dip and repeat. So this is what your turtle charm should look like when he's all glazed and dried. It's very cute. There you go. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it.